Now reports today that President Cyril Ramaphosa has now decided to issue a proclamation to allow the Special Investigating Unit to conduct a more full investigation into the way money was spent by the Tembisa Hospital, after evidence emerged that around 1 billion rand was given in contracts to a network of companies controlled by a small group of people. As Network 24 as News 24 has reported, the person who blew this whistle, of course, was Babita Deokaran. The CEO of the hospital, Dr. Ashley Mthunzi, was suspended in August last year. His disciplinary hearing only started this month, a full year later. Neeshan Bolton is Executive Director of the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation. Sibongile Tshabalala is the National Chairperson of the Treatment Action Campaign. Good afternoon to you both, and thank you for your time. Neeshan, if I may start with you, it's only now that the President is authorising the SIU to do a full investigation. So much time has passed. Do you believe we may now finally be getting closer to what actually happened? Neeshan, I don't know if you are muted at the moment. If
no, I can hear you.
Yes, we can. All right. Do you believe we're getting closer to what happened?
I hope so. I think this is a positive step, albeit a bit late. I do, however, think that given the scope that is now likely to be focused on by the SIU, which include forensic analysis and bank records, as well as the power to subpoena, certainly gives hope to the possibilities that this will be of far greater depth compared to the sample study that was previously done.
Sibongile, in the meantime, the people involved in this, they've been in their jobs, they've been getting a salary, they've been in positions where they could probably influence contracts and payments. Is there any reason why all of this has taken so long?
Honestly, Stephen, we are not sure why all this is taking so long. Yes, now we welcome that the President has signed that the SIU report continues to be, people needs to be investigated. But as for us, as people on the ground, it's meaningless if we'll have all these reports or these investigations happening on the ground. As we are talking now, we have about 8 SI reports that are having recommendation, and the perpetrators are known that are related to COVID and PEEs. But up to today, none of the people who are part of that corruption have been convicted or held accountable. This goes as far as the case of Brian Hlonga, which we all know that he stole money from Gauteng. And today, Gauteng people are still suffering because of his action, because the Gauteng government, it continues to pay accruals that were made by his corruption. But who suffers most are people on the ground. So these reports, yes, we need them. The investigations, we need them. But mostly important, we need to see those who are implicated, who have stolen from the public purse, to be prosecuted and to be put in jail where they belong. So just having these reports from us, it's not enough, and we want that money to be recovered, because at the end of the day, we as poor communities, we are suffering most. The public healthcare sector are in
We seem to have lost Sibongile Tshabalala there. Neeshan Bolton and Babita Deokaran shot now 2 years ago, and we still don't know, from what I'm aware of, we still don't know who basically paid the money, who the ringleader was, who paid to have her killed. Do you have any expectation that that will come out in the trial, whenever that may be?
I would need to be hopeful, as unlikely as that could be. We can only hope that the prosecutors will push this to the limits and will get the people who are now standing trial to go beyond where they have gone thus far. They are the only ones who I think would be able to tell us who exactly would have paid them, but that depends on the skill of the prosecutors. And I hope that this is a higher caliber of prosecutors who are going to be dealing with this case.
And Neeshan, I mean, Babita Deokaran was a whistleblower, and she was shot dead. And so far, there's been no justice for anyone. And in fact, the people who have been implicated in this corruption, who's employed by government, have been still employed by government. What message does that send to potential whistleblowers?
Well, in the last 2 weeks, a Gauteng education official from the South region dealing with disciplinary issues was assassinated, likewise, very similar style, 8 bullets. And then we have the Hawks investigator on the N1 who was killed in a very similar way near the toll plaza, which really indicates there's a sense of impunity. But I hope that Babita's case would at least unravel the people behind her killing, and that the pressure now needs to be put onto the prosecuting authorities, the SIU, the intelligence agency, to really do all that they can to ensure greater safety for those who are really national heroes. But ultimately, Stephen, whistleblowers will always be at risk because the work that they do the risk is inherent. The only safety that they will get is when we eliminate the issues that requires them to blow the whistle. Now that requires fundamental change in the ethos of the public service as well as the political heads. And that's really the big challenge that the country faces.
Sibongile Tshabalala, we have corruption like this in hospitals in Gauteng. What does that do to the treatment that patients get? What kind of treatment are patients getting at Tembisa Hospital right now?
At Tembisa Hospital, patients are not getting a proper or good service. If you go to the social media, you listen to patients are sleeping on the floor, patients are turned back without medication, they are getting a negative attitude from the healthcare workers. So it's a lot. And even the machinery or equipment that is needed in the hospital, it's not maintained. So it makes it difficult for people to access a quality of services in Tembisa hospitals, and not only in Tembisa hospitals, but all around Gauteng hospitals. There's a huge crisis that is happening, and we need accountability. It's time now people take responsibility for what is happening in Gauteng, and we need people to be held accountable, because up to today, as I've said earlier, Brian Hlong is still roaming around while we know that he has stolen money. The CEO of Tembisa, the former CEO and the current CEO, the one that was just suspended, they are suspended with the full pay. They are not feeling what the poor people are feeling on the ground. So that doesn't mean anything, even if they can be investigated, but they need to be put out of service. They need not to get paid so that they feel the pain that they make us feel as poor people on the ground.
Neeshan, there's been so much publicity about this, and despite all of the publicity, the legal system has been working so slowly. If the legal system doesn't work, people are going to lose faith in that, and the people with the guns then win.
In the short term, yes. I think fundamentally it requires a change to the people who occupy political office, to a better caliber of people there, and then to the management echelons of the public service. Because unless that changes, I think you're not going to get the kind of seriousness that I think all of us are clamoring for. However, I think the steps that have been taken by the SIU, who have been exemplary in the work that they've been able to do, and I think have been waiting patiently for this proclamation to come through, I have a little bit more faith in the work of Advocate Motibe and his team, and I think that they will push this to the limits. However, once they have done their work, then the findings and the actions thereafter is dependent on other entities within the criminal justice system. And we certainly hope that they will understand the clamor that comes from people all across this country to be seen to be taking this case and others where evidence comes through much, much more seriously. Because fundamentally the credibility crisis that government is in cannot get any worse. And if they don't do this seriously, I think it's going to be eroded completely.
Neeshan Bolton, thank you. Executive Director of the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation. Sibongile Tshabalala is the National Chair of the Treatment Action Campaign. Thank you both.